Hello, dear foodie friends, and welcome to Kitchen Chat TV on the Road. I'm your host, Margaret McSweeney, and I am just beyond delighted to be in one of my very dear friend, Chef Jaime Laurita, in his kitchen. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's your kitchen today. It's your birthday. This is your special birthday dinner or birthday lunch.
And I'm going to try not to cry during this because Chef Jaime has become just such a dear friend, like a brother to me through this culinary journey. And it's been so encouraging, and it's just so much fun to do an official kitchen chat with you here in your kitchen on camera. And you're just going to learn so many amazing things. But first of all, I want to toast you and to our friendship.
No, I'm going to toast you because it's your birthday. We have to put you first today. First of all, thank you very much for saying all those things. Second of all, I'm watching your journey, and to me it is so incredible to see the chefs that you're interviewing. Most people, I'm floored that you get to these levels. I mean, Margaret, you're interviewing some of the best chefs in the world, and I remember when you literally could not even cut an onion, and I'm watching you do these great recipes in your kitchen. Cheers to you, and cheers to your birthday. Cheers to Kitchen Chat. You've come a long way, and I'm really proud of you, and happy birthday.
Thank you so much, and thank you, dear foodie friends. This is a toast to you as well for joining me on this journey. So cheers. Wonderful. Well, I am just feeling like such a celebrity today, Chef Jaime, and you actually are a chef to celebrities.
I do a lot of things. It's very, it's a grounding life I have, and I guess life has mulched my ego, if you will. Years ago when I was a baby, 25 years old, I remember going out on my culinary journey and realizing that, it was very competitive, and I wanted to be that chef, that guy. And I'm so not that guy really in life. And it's, I cook for celebrities. I travel with celebrities. I design for celebrities. I do, I don't know, I'm kind of like an alchemist in a way. There's like an energy thing that happens that should be the most important ingredient in cooking and in life and in designing your life. It's good energy. So I guess that's what I am. I'm an energist. To put a chef hat on me, yeah, I can pull it off. But life is what I'm chefing, and I think everybody could use a good dose of good energy and positive cooking in their life.
Yes, and one of the biggest lessons, foodie friends, that I've learned from Chef Jaime Laurita is that fear should not be an ingredient in your meals.
No, don't feed me that. If you're afraid to cook me dinner, don't cook me dinner. Please. I always tell people the first ingredient, the most wholesome ingredient is you. So you can go out to, wherever you go, to a farmer's market or, one of these great superstores that we have where you can find organics, and you can find all these ingredients and bring them home. But bring them home is one thing. Also invite them into your kitchen with a good, happy energy, and approach the stove that way. I meet so many people that don't know that as the secret ingredient, really, Margaret. It's, if you're a mom and you have tons of kids like my mom did, my mom wasn't this person, but don't throw chicken fingers in the stove and do it angrily and serve your kids with anxiety, and it's almost punishment. That's in the food. Why would you do that to your kids? If you feed them with a good intention and love, and it doesn't have to be difficult, just prepare and nurture through food, you'll watch your kids bloom into incredible people. And I've seen it happen. I know children who I've cooked for, and I've watched the change occur. So it's very important to use yourself as the main ingredient and a healthy, good ingredient.
I love that. So remember to invite the ingredients. They're our guests, and just inviting them to the table.
Beauty and the Beast?
I love that.
Did you see the candlestick?
Yes.
Be our guest, be our guest. That's pretty much me. But I look for the beauty in everything. I look for the most, gorgeous colors and fruits and vegetables that are shiny and alive. Those things talk to me.
And yes, and I was just recently at an event where you were teaching a classroom.
Oh, in Buffalo Grove. Wasn't that amazing?
Yes.
And kids light me up.
And I love your lesson to them that the food will communicate, that the food talks to you while you're preparing. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, you're talking about when I was making the risotto, and I was actually teaching the kids that to cook by sound. As a chef, we use all our senses. We use our ears, our nose, our palate, our eyes, and we're kind of orchestrating a lot of different things at once. And what I was trying to teach the kids was listening to how the onions sizzle, listen to how the broth meets the pan, listen to these things, and remember, sound memory, taste memory with cooking. It's important to know what that sounds like when the rice is ready to accept the stock. There's a sound. There's for example, with these fried leeks that I made today, I know what color they are supposed to look like, but I also know what they're supposed to smell like as they're cooking and what it sounds like when they're ready to come out of the pan. I was trying to teach them to communicate with your food, be one with the whole process. It's a dance, and some of us do it really well, and some of us slip on the dance floor. Not you, Margaret. Not you.
I'm not quite ready for Dancing with the Stars, but I am learning so much.
That could be a great cooking show, right? Same concept, only use food. We'll work on that.
Definitely. Well, I had to share something very special with you. It's from the heart of my kitchen, and then we'll share with the viewers why this is so special, and I think you'll know immediately.
I sure do. Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. So this is from Ann Willen.
Yes.
Right? You want to tell the story?
Yes. This is such a special food memory. I mean, this was such a milestone in my culinary journey,
And
Chef
mine as
Jaime.
well. Mine as well. It was really an important moment, for me, and to be invited into that kind of environment, an unexpected invitation. And having had such a wonderful connection with her, she is incredible. And what a historian, she knows so much about so much. And it was a really great experience. And now we have her mushroom back.
Yes.
Well, it's not the fungus. What do you the
The
mother?
the mother from Ann
I call
Willen.
it so many things, but it's the mother.
Yes, and it's such a special story. And I'll make sure we have the still photographs as well, and also a link to the kitchen chat with Ann Willen, who is the founder of La Varenne Cookery. She has trained some of the top chefs around the world. And for Chef Jaime and me to be invited into her kitchen for a kitchen chat, and I remember just being in tears.
Talk about kitchen energy, right? All of the assistants meticulously preparing. It was unbelievable. I want a couple of those.
Oh, it was incredible. And so this is the mother of her red wine vinegar from Ann Willen's kitchen. And I'm so excited. I have not killed it. So it has grown. And
I'm shocked. I'm shocked. It's alive. Yeah, so this is really special. This was a really great day, and now I get to make my own red wine vinegar in my kitchen, and I'm going to carry on the tradition. It's something that I'll never forget. And isn't that amazing how food does that, and food experiences do that? Remember when she gave me that music-related teacup, and she didn't know really what I did for a living, working with musicians, and I just ironically was given that teacup, and it was a moment. So many things happened that day in that kitchen. It was really great.
And so many things are going to happen today in Jamie's kitchen, and I'm so excited.
Some things will happen. Yeah, I was really happy to have you at that event with the kids last week. And it's your birthday, so we have to do something, culinary. But what I want to do today is I want to bring a little bit of the spring. When we talk about bringing food energy into your house, you also think about the seasons. You also think about what's happening outside. And not just because it's spring, but also because of the temperatures that are currently happening in Chicago, for example. they're fluctuating like crazy. Yesterday I had a sweatshirt on and I was walking my dogs and I was shivering. Today I'm breaking a sweat. So we want to think about, eating with the temperature, treating your body almost like a thermometer, and knowing what's happening outside is happening inside. So I like to bring in ingredients of, it was just Easter, so some Eastery type ingredients and some things that are happening in spring, and lots of spring energy in the air. So using a lot of things like this watercress, which is like perking up. You should be doing that. We're coming out of, here in Chicago, we're coming out of, sort of a chibernation, we'll call it, right? And that's good, chibernation. I like that. So chibernation, where we are kind of like going inward. Now we're all coming outward. So we want to express ourselves with good sprouting energy in spring. So we'll have some of that. We'll talk about, like, I'm doing bacon wrapped shrimp today, or prosciutto wrapped shrimp, like we wrap sweaters around ourselves, but we're putting that on top. We're saying goodbye to that. So we're actually going to Bring in the spring here today in Jaime's kitchen. And I'm also going to teach you a classic apple tart tatin, which is one of the first recipes I learned in my kitchen. And I'm actually going to have you assist me in something that I almost destroyed. But you're at that level now, Margaret. We're going to make you take a bigger leap into the culinary world. I'm going to ask you to flip my apple tart tatin out of the oven while it's hot.
Oh,
yeah, you're going to do it.
Okay. This will be fun.
So yeah, that's what's on the menu. Some exciting spring stuff, and happy birthday to Margaret.
Oh, thank you so much, Chef. And isn't this just beautiful? I mean, just seeing the culinary artistry, Chef Jaime, just with the fruit. And this is something that you can do in your own kitchen.
I'm going to tell you the Margaret and lots of people come in and they get very impressed with the way things look. Really, it's easy. You find the most beautiful fruits and vegetables that you're going to be using in your recipe. You put them in some white bowls and, kind of highlight them, and then you bring in some funky little things and you call it a day. It's not that difficult. It's just a little bit of a time investment, and like the invitation is there for them, right? Now it's time to show them off and invite them to the party. They're not supposed to be hidden. They're part of the situation. So we want to allow them to let themselves be seen. Like they're on our runway today.
I love this, the red carpet runway with your beautiful dish that you have created here.
I'm investing a lot of time into ceramics and pottery and making my own dishes and platters. And, it's amazing to have, culinary is so temporary. It's not, you have your food memory when you eat a great dish. You have that in your mind forever, but it's not something you can put your hands on. And everything is pretty temporary when it comes to touch. The ceramics that I'm doing are really important because they're not just, yes, they are pieces of clay, but I'm using everything that I'm talking about and I'm applying it to the ceramics, to the pottery. And I use a lot of porcelain, and porcelain sounds beautiful. So that's actually a sound bowl.
Can we listen to it?
Yeah. It's normally I have a piece of wood. I'll have to find one, but with the wood, it's almost like a singing bowl. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those, but it's a ceramic bowl, and I use this wooden, it just makes a nice noise. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with that.
And I love how you're bringing tangible memories to intangible memories.
Yeah, and it's cool to have another way to express myself. I do it with design, as you know, as an interior designer. I also do that for many well-known musicians, a chef, party planner, event planner. Now I'm bringing it to the ceramics, and I'm starting a company called 1111 where you'll be able to get some of this stuff. But I love that. I love that it's here and it's not going anywhere. So It's great. It's exciting.
This is exciting. So for the foodie friends that are listening and watching us, Chef, what are 3 tips that you have for the home chef?
One major tip would be to keep it clean. You don't need to go, if you have the time and if you make the time, because we all have to make the time. We don't all have the time. There's nothing good about a crowded refrigerator filled with tons of ingredients that you forget about. I see it so many times where you'll open up the vegetable drawer and there'll be something brown that was once, it's like, to me, again, we talk about energy. That thing is dying in your refrigerator. So, when it comes to tip number 1, it's like, keep it simple and limit yourself to the things that you're actually going to use that week and learn what you won't use, So that would be tip number 1, and keeping that, your refrigerator, your appliances, your tools clean, is tip number 1. Tip number 2 is please sharpen your knife. It's amazing how many kitchens I'll go into and the knives are just like weapons themselves to me because they're not sharp, and nothing good comes from a dull knife. You put me on the spot with this, but tip number 3 would be to cook without the fear, using that whole reckless abandon mentality. Don't be afraid to approach or to attempt any recipe. Cooking is easy, and if you apply yourself one time to one recipe, and it may be something that you step outside the box with, you'll be surprised how many times you'll go back to that one recipe once you do it right. So it's okay to make a mistake. I always say that the blessing is in the lesson, and it's okay to screw something up, but don't go into it thinking that you're gonna. And I know so many people that do that with cooking. Like, I burn everything. I kill all my house plants. It's like, don't cook for me and don't take care of my plants. You know what I mean? That positive attitude towards the recipe. Read the recipe, understand the recipe, and go at the recipe with take charge. You're the chef. And you'll be surprised how far you can go. Look at yourself. Look how many things you're doing. It's unbelievable how many things you're doing now that you were so afraid to do then.
Yes.
But I'm glad that you referenced the take the fear out of the recipe mentality that I have, because that's the number one thing that makes a chef, turns them off to cooking, is being afraid to do everything. Right. You don't know how many times I didn't know. Even today, I still don't know what I'm doing.
Well, this is going to be so much fun to watch it unfold and then to sample it and to share this meal with you, dear foodie friends. And we'll just kind of share some memories along the way and continue
Most
the
important,
conversation.
though, it's your birthday. So I want you to learn something, and I want you to eat great food, and we'll design it together, and I'll show you a lot of the things that half the time, 3/4 of the time, people, I'm just throwing it together. I'm not him. I have lots of great ingredients around me, and somehow, through the power of smoke and mirrors, I guess it appears, but people love it because I'm not afraid. And that's what I was trying to teach the kids too. Right. When, I went into that classroom with them, I knew I was going to make risotto. I didn't know how or what type or when, but I just let myself in, and it was perfect timing, and that's cooking. Cooking is like knowing the dance, knowing that it's going to be a dance, and having a lot of fun while you're doing it.
Right, but no Dancing with the Star judges who are watching the process.
I mean, sometimes that happens, and that's a whole other thing with cooking shows and stuff like that. That you won't see me on many cooking shows like that, because that's not how I cook. I don't use those ingredients. I don't need people judging or having to make 1,000 dishes with one ingredient. That's just not me. I appreciate it and I respect it, what they're doing. I think it's fun, but that's not the man I am. I don't put that kind of anxiety into my food. I wouldn't want to be exposed to that, and being the conduit, you're eating that. So that just doesn't taste good to me.
And I love the whole concept that each ingredient is invited
Yes.
to your table and
Right.
is on the runway. And I have to say, I made my very first risotto. I was so inspired by Chef Jaime's cooking lesson at the school, that
did?
it was so special. My oldest daughter, Melissa, and I made risotto together.
Wow. That's amazing. See, now look how easy it was. Right? And you can do it like without even really thinking about it. You're listening to that dish. It's such a great dish to master when you're paying attention to how everything sounds, because it'll tell you what to do next. And that's with like most of the food. I mean, most chefs have this, I believe. I'm not trying to say that I'm magic. I have a little bit of a witch doctor in me, but there's a level that you get to that you can smell toast when it's toasted. You can smell cooked food at different levels. Your nose always knows. And that's an exciting level to get to as a home cook or a professional chef, is when you can be doing other things and you could trust in your gut instincts, and the food is talking to you. It's telling me I'm ready, but based on experience. So even if you're a new chef, pay attention, listen, watch, focus on what's happening in the kitchen. And then you'll be surprised at like how you'll start to recognize and not, think about burning something. So many times I'll open up that stove and I'll be talking with friends and people will say, "How did you know that?" No, there was no timer. It's all based on that energy that you'll gain from lots of courage in the kitchen.
Courage in the kitchen and inspiration from Chef Jaime's kitchen.
Do it again, Margaret. Do it again.
Well, let's celebrate and continue the fun and delicious festivities. Let's continue the celebration. Chef Jaime, I am just so excited to watch the artistry and the strategy behind plating.
Yeah, plating's fun. It's kind of the exciting part of, for me at least, it's one of my favorite parts is putting it all together. And a lot of the times, especially if I'm at home, and I have, lots of little esoteric ingredients around, I'll use them. Sometimes it's the tangerines or the pears or whatever you have in the distance that you can use to do fun things with. I had some great leeks, so I made some crispy fried leeks. First, I want to start with the actual soup that I made. So this is just a vegetable puree of asparagus and green peas. I don't like using cream in my soup. I make delicious cream-based soups. I personally don't like them. I don't think you need to have or to use cream if you're looking to do a creamy looking type soup. Doesn't this soup look creamy?
It does, and how do you make it look creamy?
It's just knowing the proportions of vegetable to stock.
Okay.
I always say that when you're making a vegetable puree, that if your ladle sits on top of the vegetables in the broth, that's enough vegetable. Instead of sinking down into the broth. That's what I say. So today in this pot, I basically sauteed a little bit of onion and garlic and some stock, vegetable stock, and I had that going. First I sauteed, then I added the stock. I brought the stock to a boil. I chopped up probably 2 bunches of asparagus, saved the tips and roasted them separately for garnish. And then I probably added 2 cups of peas, but to my point, when I sat the ladle on top of the broth after adding the vegetable, it sat there instead of staying. Does that make sense?
Yes, and a great tip. And I have to say, and describe the fragrance. This is like the fragrance of spring.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a very green soup, and if you pay attention to the leaves outside at this point on the trees, they all come out super green. So I love that color. It's one of my favorite food colors, and that's the color of like a leek. So I used some lemon and some cayenne at the end after I pureed. It holds the color, and that's why it's so bright green. And with that being said, thinking about what the plate's going to look like, thinking about what the next steps are. It's super fun. You can change this in so many different directions. If you wanted to do, well, I'll save it to the end and then I'll give you some ideas, but I'll give you where my mind went. So again, we talked about beautiful, like springy type vegetables. So today I have this fresh watercress, and I'm just gonna chop off a little bit of the tips here. And already in the bowl, one of my favorite things is poached garlic. And I'll show you guys how to do that at some point. But before you came, it's very simple. I took a very small saute pan, whole garlic cloves, and then just cover the top to the top with olive oil, just covering the top. And then you just very slowly, you bring up the heat and you bring it to a simmer and just let it go until they're golden brown, not burnt. Shut it off, let it cool. And then you could use that for so many different things. You could use the actual oil for sauteing, and it's garlic infused. You could use the cloves, which I did, which I pressed into the bowl. I took before I added my greens, I put some olive oil, a squeeze of lemon, and then I took one of those garlic cloves, and I basically, here's one right here, I smashed it and I rubbed it along the inside of the bowl.
Wow.
You know, that, when you toss your greens, you never want to throw your dressing on the greens. You always want to dress the bowl. Then add your greens and toss.
I never knew that.
It's my way of not over dressing a salad. Dress the bowl like I did. You could see the bowl has a shine all around it. Then toss your greens, and then you'll never have an overdressed salad. Nobody likes an overdressed salad, or at least I don't.
The soggy salad.
No, the soggy salad is not good. So I wanted to do, again, in keeping with the season and making it look really pretty. Again, too, I have very clean hands, and I love using my hands when I cook. I'm Italian, I can't help it. Right inside the dish, a pile of greens. How springtime is that?
Yes.
Then in that nest, you want to add a couple of eggs. These are my roasted potatoes. They look like little eggs. But I roasted some potatoes in the oven. They are covered in smoked paprika, a little bit of olive oil, salt, and pepper. But I create this little nest of lettuce, or the watercress. Then I add in a little layer of interest there. It kind of starts to bring up the height a little bit. Today we're going to do some shrimp wrapped in your prosciutto sweater for spring. And I have a couple of these that are already done. And then usually choose probably enough, but these are really delicious, so I'm going to put 3. So you got a little nest of potatoes, and you have the shrimp. Then I have these tips of asparagus, and the tips of asparagus are really fun to put along the sides. And again, I'm kind of looking at it now and making it up as I go along. None of this is pre-designed in my head. That's kind of what I do with cooking, is I look at it as it's happening, and I build as, say, a sculpture or an art piece, something that looks really pretty.
There's such an architectural quality, an artistic architectural quality. And what I'm surprised, why isn't it sinking? I feel like if I put this on, everything would sink.
Well, it's building. You know,
Okay.
the potato layer is kind of acting as the foundation,
Okay.
holding up the rest of the house. But I'm not done yet. These are the crispy fried leeks. These are so enjoyable, really. And I showed you how to do these before. I can show you viewers or your listeners how to do this another time. But these crispy fried leeks just speak to like the end of winter, something crunchy and warm on top into spring. So I've got this layer there, and that's pretty much the top of it. And you can go as high as you want. You know, these are really yummy, so if you really want to build up, you can go even a little bit higher in the dish. And then at the end, I'll be right back.
Sure. This is just beautiful. And for those who are just listening, I'll make sure that there are photos posted on kitchenchat.info because you don't want to miss this artistry.
Yeah, and this is something that at the very end of your dish, just in the actual soup itself, you can see how the truffle oil, which I just added, kind of just sits there on top of the puree, kind of like a little puddle of artistic sort of paint on the dish. And I think it's really pretty, just like that. And to me, it looks beautiful and very, very, very springtime. And there you have it.
Beautiful. Just, it's a work of art.
Well, it's time to eat your birthday dinner, lunch.
Bon appetit. Well, Jamie, that lunch was delicious. What a fun celebration.
I'm so glad you loved it. So we're going to start working on this apple tart tatin. And in this pan right here, I have my caramelizing sugar. I have a recipe online that I'll give you. And normally I like to create a nice pattern around with my apples. Just because this is an inverted tart, what's going to happen here is we're going to cook these apples in our sugar, and then we're going to put a puff pastry lid on top of it.
And just a quick question, what did you mix the apples with? Which ingredients?
Just on the apples, I cut them and I put a little bit of lemon and a little bit of apple pie spice. You can use cinnamon. And again, you can take your time and you can create a really nice design, but we're going to use some ice cream on top of this and some whipped cream. So I'm not too concerned what it looks like, but if you want to make it really beautiful, slice your apples and fan them around. But for this purpose, I really don't need to do that. So I'm going to make it look attractive. So basically what you're looking at here is what's going to happen. I'll show you, we're going to invert it. Do you know what I'm talking about, Margaret?
I'm a little afraid of this, inverting on camera, but hey, this will be fun.
Mm-hmm. So I've got my apples now cooking in my sugar. And basically, you're going to let that go for a few minutes. I like to add a little bit of, sometimes I'll put a vanilla bean in there with it, but I don't have one today, so I'm just going to drop in a little bit of vanilla extract because I want a little bit of a vanilla flavor in there. And basically what happens is you take your puff pastry and you put it right on top of the pan.
So while everything's boiling, you just put the pastry on top?
It's going to cook, and it's going to cook on top just like that. And then I fold my edges in a little bit on itself. And this is very rugged looking, but that's okay. We're going to make it look fantastic when it's done. And basically, it's an apple pie. It looks like an apple pie, doesn't it?
It does, and I'm amazed that you're making this stovetop.
It's stovetop. And then what I do is I'm going to perforate a couple of holes here like that, like so, to let the steam out. I'm going to do an egg wash on top of it. And then this goes right into the oven for about 40 minutes.
So you can just put the pan that you're cooking it in, and are there certain types of pans that can go in the oven?
Yeah, there's certain types of pans that can go in the oven. You don't want to use anything with a plastic handle, and you don't want to forget that the handle's hot. Okay. A lot of people do that, and it's a kind of a bad thing. Oh. So we have a beautiful tart going here, and you can see the steam escaping off the top. And the beauty of this dish is that, again, if you're serving your guests dinner, you can put this in the oven. It's a nice presentation when you flip it over and serve it with ice cream. It makes you look like a big-time chef. So I'm going to teach you how to do that today. And yeah, that's a classic apple tart tatin.
Chef Jaime, this is beautiful.
Thank you very much, Margaret. This is the apple tart tatin after it comes out of the oven, and you can see how the crust has risen, and it's got a really nice color on the bottom. So basically, this is the bottom of your tart. What's happening underneath would be the top of your tart. And I'm not going to actually have you flip it. It would be too dangerous today.
That is fine. And it almost looks too pretty to flip.
It'll look quite different when it flips over. Remember when we talked about having the apples in a beautiful design underneath it. If we had taken the time, we didn't have that kind of time today. But if you really want to do a beautiful design underneath, you can layer your apples really nicely, put your puff pastry on top, put it in the oven, and whatever you had going on underneath prior would happen above. So yeah.
Oh, well, drum roll, please.
But we're going to try to do this. I'm going to try doing it on this dish. And in one fell swoop, just like that, is how we flip the apple tart to 10. And
beautiful.
there we go. And then we'll show you how after. It's a secret. I don't want to show you exactly yet. I'm going to show you how we design it afterwards.
This is just so artistic. Once again, Chef Jaime Laurita's beautiful touches.
Yeah, and I don't mind putting serving it like this on your cutting board. Why not throw a little sugar around? Put a little sugar on everything, right? Why couldn't you do that and serve it beautiful, rustic on a cutting board like that? You know, I made some sour cream cinnamon ice cream, a recipe that I created last night. Little cinnamon sour cream ice cream that we'll serve this with. But this is a great way to present it. We inverted it like I showed you before. The apples were beautifully cooked, the crust had a little golden brown on it, and some of that confectionery sugar on top just makes it look really festive. And then, right now I'm thinking of, creating in my mind. Say I had my friends over and there was a beautiful bowl of ice cream right here, and then I saw these beautiful oranges, right? And I just decided at the last second to do something very chef festive. Put my ice cream in a pretty bowl, some plates here, and that just looks rustic and beautiful.
It does, and I love that you use sour cream as your base for the ice cream.
Yeah, there's many different things you can, twists and turns you can do with ice cream. It's just a creative way. It will taste beautiful with these Granny Smith apples, the sour, sweet combination will be really nice.
Oh, and it is kind of reminiscent of a spring snow in Chicago.
Let this be the last snow Chicago ever sees. Well, happy birthday, Margaret McSweeney. Thank you for coming into my kitchen today. You're an angel, and like you always say to me, God's trains run on time, right? And this was the birthday celebration day, so thanks for coming.
Thank you, sweet friend. I just treasure our friendship.
She's the best.
Oh, to many more culinary adventures.
And to many more kitchen chats.
Yes, indeed. And thank you, dear foodie friends, for joining on this culinary celebration. Always remember to take a moment and savor the day.
Bye-bye.